now. We are live on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. How's things going? You're very welcome if you're watching the live stream. If you're not watching the live stream but watching it on the recording afterwards, then you're equally welcome. So we are ready to start.
Welcome, YouTubers.
We're ready to start recording. And I'm going to count you in, Ted. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters, listeners and friends. You're very welcome to the Talk Show for Talkers on irishtalkers.com. Our email address is info@irishtalkers.com. You can also find us on Facebook as the Talk Show for Talkers, and we look forward to your comments, your questions. Please keep sending the questions, your feedback, and indeed we regard these as evaluations. You can listen to previous shows on our website, irishtalkers.com. We also publish the Public Speaking Weekly, and this is a roundup of links from the internet. It's about Toastmasters, tips on public speaking, how to gain confidence, leadership. So look out for the newspaper link on our website. My name is Ted Malamphy, and I'm joined again this week by the passionate, persuasive Paul O'Mahony.
Thank you very much, listeners, for coming again. It's terrific to have an opportunity to be listened to by you.
And we also have the mindful, motivating, multi-talented Moira O'Brien.
Thank you to the tantalizing talker who is Ted.
And thank you, Moira. I'm going to have to try and figure out what those words mean. So on today's show, we'll have our usual mix of a thought for the week, a word for the week. We're not going to have a guest interview. We're going to do something more in tune with this season that we're in, which is a festive season. We're not going to be speaking about the C word here today. We're going to speak about festivities, festivals, frivolity, and we're going to try to take you away from some of the doom and gloom that has been pervading the whole wide world. So that is what we're going to do. In the third section, Paul is going to be giving us some stuff again on the same theme, a festive message for all you Toastmasters. So that should be nice. And Moira is going to give us a little retrospection in segment 4. So that should be nice. Sometimes it's important to look back, because when you look back in history, it prepares you for what comes tomorrow. So that should be interesting. And Paul is going to give us, of course, his word of the day. I'm sure this will have something to do with the season that we're in also. So looking forward to that. So stick with us. And over the next 4 days, you can delve in and delve out when it suits you to listen to us. So Paul, have you got your word of the day? Or should I give mine first?
Well, I think, Ted, I always like to give way to people of dignity and distinction like yourself. So off you go.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself there. I was getting behind myself even. So my thought for the week has been given to us by Maya Angelou. And if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. So if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Solid advice. What do you think, folks?
I think it's a very sound advice. I like it. Let's say one's attitude is usually the bar to any learning or any context, any oh dear, words are failing me today, to making any connection with people. You know, it's well, the quote is, if you don't like something, change it. Well, I'm sort of expanding that to, if you cannot grasp anything, if you cannot understand anything, then the chances are that it's you, not the thing that you're trying to understand, that is the issue. So change your attitude. Paul.
Well, there's a terrific example of somebody doing a table topic who completely refuses to answer the question, changes the topic, and shifts the attention away from the original quotation. And that goes down very well in clubs, but it definitely doesn't win you the table topic contest. So back to the issue now, listeners. The issue is, if you can't change something, change it. Now, if you don't like something, change it. Now, look, I grew up with cod liver oil. And I have to admit that I never liked cod liver oil. It came out of a large glass bottle and it was a yellow color and it was yuck. I didn't like it. Now, one of my earliest wishes was to change the cod liver oil to lemonade, but I was unable to change cod liver oil to lemonade or even to milk or anything. So Maya Angelou would say to me that I should change my attitude. So I should then change from disliking cod liver oil to persuading myself that I love cod liver oil, or else I should change my attitude, which I suppose would be turn myself into a horrible, nasty child who refused to swallow cod liver oil and instead spat it out and ruined my mother's clothes. Now, where does Maya Angelou stand on that? It sounds to me like as if there's got to be an alternative to just changing your attitude and turning yourself into a brat. What do you think, Ted?
I think that's a great interpretation of what she has said by you, Paul, and we must be of the same ilk, because I can remember having the spoonful of cod liver oil as well. But I think changing your attitude, looking back now, if you think about it, the benefits of cod liver oil. So in the final episode, what we were doing is we were doing something that was extremely healthy for us.
My
And
daughter will love you,
we were
Ted.
giving it in its raw form rather than being encapsulated as it is today.
Well, I must tell my daughter, Ted, she'll really love you for this. You're the man who persuaded me to go out and buy a bottle of cod liver oil and give it to her every day before she goes to school, on the grounds that about 40 years later, she'll appreciate that it was good for her. What a philosophy of child development and child rearing you have, Ted.
Well, I tell you, the trick that was worked on us actually, Paul, is that there was we moved house from the north side of the city to the south side of the city when I was 4 years of age. And on that particular side of the city, it was on Powladuff Road. You know, obviously people won't know what that is. But when I moved from north side Cork to south side Cork, we moved to a place where our rentman used to be a neighbour of my mum's. And he used to call every Wednesday. And he always brought with him a bottle of cod liver oil. And at the time, I'm speaking about the late 1950s. But at the time, what he also brought with him was a pocket full of crunchies. So you didn't get the crunchy unless you took the spoon of cod liver oil. We all hated the cod liver oil, but we loved the crunchy. So I suppose having the crunchy directly after the cod liver oil numbed the taste of it and the feeling of it. And I can still remember actually when I asked him, I said, Mr. Murphy, I was about 5 years of age. I said, where does this cod liver oil come from? He said, that comes from a fish called a cod, and it comes from his liver. So if you think about it, cod liver oil, if you think about where it actually comes from.
Yeah.
You're muted, Paul.
I don't want to do that.
You don't want to do what?
Think about
Cod liver oil.
what you've just been speaking about. I want to change the subject entirely. Can we, listeners, I'm suffering badly at the moment now. I need a few kindred spirits who definitely are.
Paul, do you have a word of the week by any chance?
Yeah, it's kindred, and my spirit has been knocked backwards by that diatribe. Excuse
Oh,
me,
gee.
that stuff that came from Ted Melanphy's liver.
Diatribe.
So I don't. I just want to talk about kindred as the word Kindred, kindred. Now, we all have heard, no, I take that back. That would be silly. Some people in the universe, or some people who speak the English language and are learning it, will have heard the phrase to be of a kindred spirit. It means to be of a like character or a like mind. And that's an adjective, kindred. You can, but you can also talk about he is my kindred, which means that he comes from the same ancestor as I do. So it's a noun. Handy word if, for example, you wanted to talk or you were at a club meeting and you were having something about community. We're of kindred spirits. We're a collection of kindred. Toastmasters is an organization with 4 great values which together embody the kind of kindred that we are. And so that is my useful, unusual word. It would get people to sit up in their seat and say, what's he calling me, a kindred? Oh, not sure what that means, but there we are, a new word, Kindred. And it has, you don't have to dread it at all. It's kindred. So there we are, Ted.
Kindred.
There we are, Moira. That's the word of the week, kindred.
Well,
I
it's
like it.
it's a useful word, I have to say. It's,
Toastmasters are a collection of kindred spirits.
yeah, but to be kith and kin, which is of course where the word comes from, or maybe kith and kin comes from the word kindred, probably that way around. It sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Shall we call that?
Thank you, Moira.
I can't link
Thank
that.
you that the word makes sense.
Yeah, I can't link that to the word kindred. So we'll just call this episode to a kind end. No, that didn't work either, did it? Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow when Ted is going to be bringing us a Christmas party piece. We'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Bye for now. That was the usual waffle.
No, that was nice actually. I liked the little spat myself and Paul had there. And Moira, when you spoke about Maya Angelou and
Angelou.
Well, you'll be surprised in America they pronounce it Angelou.
No,
No,
absolutely
Maya
no.
Angelou. It's a
The
je.
earliest I get you there is 4:30.
Well, when you were talking
Yes.
about it from a point of view of context, what she said.
Okay, I have to speed the others up. Okay.
I think our quotation also looks at conflict.
Yeah.
If you were in conflict with someone, it can all conflicts are usually caused by people's intransigent attitudes.
This is true.
Yeah, like your attitude. Typical attitude, intransigently forcing cod liver oil down the gullets of the
innocent
listeners.
gullets, yes.
No. And we were only 4 years of age. I suppose you were very young too, Paul, when you got it, were you?
Just 16 or 17.
Well, I was a lot younger when I got it.
Yeah,
No,
likewise.
I'm pulling your leg, Ted. I'm pulling your leg. I would think I had cod liver oil before I had mother's milk.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely, because it was one of the tonics, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were given as young children.
Even still, you get it in tablet form now.
Do you?
Yeah, but everything's changed with tablets and that.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I put it up with semolina and tapioca, which is for another conversation, another day.
There's a nice mixture there, Paul, semolina, tapioca with a splash of cod liver oil. You could build a house with that.
Semolina was bad enough. Tapioca was just, we used to call it frog's eyes.
Guys, I've been told by my daughter that the latest I have to leave this house, because I've in the background had to negotiate.
Okay.
She wanted me to leave at 4:00. I have had to concede that I'm going to leave at 4:20.
Okay,
oh, that's a bit early.
Let's move
know.
along, so Paul.
Well, Paul, you just have to stand on your TSFT rights.
Well, he did. He negotiated an extra 20 minutes, Mara. That's magnificent with a 13-year-old young lady.
Yeah, she's actually 15 now.
Oh,
my
she's
God.
15. Oh, well, that's fantastic.
Even
and
less chance.
Yeah, and I think she's very reasonable. For God's
Yeah.
sake, this is Christmas time. What are dads supposed to do with their 15-year-old daughters?
Okay,
on,
guys.
Mara.
Okay, Ted, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'll bring you in.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, Toastmasters, Would-Be Toastmasters, listeners and friends. You're very welcome to part 2 of this week's Talk Shepherd Talkers here on irishtalkers.com. We have something a little bit different for you today. It's not an interview. It's not an audio from a YouTube video or any such thing. It is Ted Malamphy telling us his party piece. Ted, infuse us
Moira,
with your Christmas spirit.
Thank you, Moira, and thank you, Paul, for giving me the honor of performing my Christmas spiel. This is something that I would like. I'm going to dedicate this actually to the DLT team for all their hard work throughout the year. And I hope that as I go through this story, I hope to inspire people as to what to buy their friends and families. Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
No, just before you start, what does DLT stand for?
District Leadership Team.
Is that bacon and...
No, that's BLT.
Oh, yeah. So DLT is okay.
DLT is the District Leadership Team. That's Gerard Mannix, Elizabeth Jordan, Daniel Sanders, Philip O'Brien. So I'm going to dedicate it to them. And this might inspire our Toastmaster listeners as to what they should be buying for their nearest and dearest at this time of year. Day 1. Dear Moira, thank you very much for your lovely present of a partridge in a pear tree. We're getting the hang of feeding the partridge now, although it was difficult at first to win its confidence. It bit Paul rather badly on the hand, but they're good friends now, and we are keeping the pear tree indoors in a bucket. Thank you again, Ted. I should say here now that anybody mentioned in this are fictitious and no animals or birds were harmed in the process. Day 2. Dear Moira, I cannot tell you how surprised we were to hear from you so soon again and to receive your present of 2 turtle doves. You really are too kind. At first, the partridge was very jealous and suspicious of the doves, and they had a terrible row when the doves arrived. We had to send for the vet, but the birds are okay again now, and the stitches are due to come out in a week or 2. The vet's bill was €20, and Paul is over his annoyance now, and the doves and the partridge are watching the telly from the pear tree as I write. Yours affectionately, Ted. Day 3. Moira, we must be foremost in your thoughts. I had only posted my letter when the 3 French hens arrived. There was another sort out between the hens, the doves. They sided with the partridge, and the vet had to be sent for again. I was raging, because the bill this time was €40. Paul has nearly cooled down now. However, the fact that the bird's droppings keep falling on his head while he watches the telly doesn't help things. Thanking you for your kindness. Dear 4, Dear Moira, you mustn't have received my last letter when you were sending us the 4 calling birds. It was pandemonium in the pear tree again last night, and the vet's bill was €65. Paul is on sedation as I write. I know you meant no harm. I remain your close friend, Ted. Day 5. Moira, your generosity knows no bounds. 5 gold rings. When the parcel arrived, I was scared stiff that it might be more birds, because the smell in the sitting room is atrocious. However, I don't want to seem ungrateful for the beautiful golden rings. Your affectionate friend, Ted. Dear 6, what are you trying to do to us? It isn't that we don't appreciate your generosity, Moira, but the 6 geese have not alone nearly murdered the calling birds, but they laid their eggs on top of the vet's head from the pear tree, and his bill was €100 in cash. Paul is munching 6 grams of Valium a day and talking to himself in a most alarming way. You must keep your feelings for me, Moira, in check. Ted. Day 7. Moira, we are not amused by your little joke. 7 swans are swimming is a very romantic idea, but not in the bath of a private bungalow. We cannot use the loo now because they're all gone completely savage and they rush the door every time we try to enter. If things go on this way, Paul and I will smell as bad as the sitting room carpet. Please lay off us. It's not fair, Ted. Day 8. Moira, who the hell do you think gave you the right to send 8 hefty maids of milking here to eat us out of house and home? Their cattle are all over the front lawn, and they have trampled the hell out of Paul's rose beds. The swans invaded the sitting room in a sneak attack, and the ensuing battle between them and the calling birds, turtle doves, French hens, partridge, make the Battle of the Somme seem like Wanderley Wagon. Paul is on a bottle of whiskey a day as well as the 60 grams of Valium. I'm very annoyed with you, Moira. Ted. Day 9. Listen, you loser. There's enough pandemonium in this place day and night without 9 drummers drumming. While the 8 flaming maids of milking are beating my poor old alcoholic Paul out and eating us out of house and home. I've been shoved out of my own kitchen and gobbling everything in sight. I'm warning you, you're making an enemy of me, Ted. Day 10. Listen, in your face. I hope you'll be haunted by 10 pipers piping which you sent to torment last night. They were aided in their evil work by those maniac drummers, and it wasn't a pleasant sight to look out the window and see 8 hefty males milking, pogoing around punk rock uproar. Paul has just finished his 3rd bottle of whiskey on top of 124 grams of Valium. You'll get yours, Ted. Day 11. You have scandalized Paul, you dirty Jezebel. It was bad enough to have 8 maids milking, dancing to punk rock music on the front lawn, but they have been joined by your 11 lords of leaping, and the antics of the lot of them would leave the most decadent days of the Roman Empire look like the 6 o'clock Angelus. I'll get you yet, you old, and I wouldn't like to see it. Day 12, listen, slurryhead, you have ruined our lives. The 12 maids of dancing turned up last night and beat the living daylights out of the 8 maids of milking, because they found them carrying on with the 11 lords of leaping. Meanwhile, the swans got out of the sitting room, where they were hiding since the big battle, and savaged the hell out of the lords and maids. There were 8 ambulances here last night, and the local civil defence as well. Paul is in the home for the bewildered. and I'm sitting here up to me neck in board shit, empty bottles, Valium and whiskey, boar's blood and feathers, while the cows eat the leaves off the pear tree. I'm a broken man.
Oh, that was rather good, Ted.
Thanks,
That was
Paul.
rather good, I have to say.
I
Jolly.
hope it gets a chuckle at the other end, and I hope Germanics won't get on to me about it.
I just wondered, Ted, whether you might have changed the characters to the DLT. That would have made it more interesting.
Oh yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly could do with a BLT now. I'm a bit hungry. So if you want to bring the BLT into it, I'm happy. So, Ted, I want to say that was bravura. A bravura. Now, there's a word of the day. There's a bravura performance. And you held your equanimity well throughout, so that you kept making positive progress. We could talk about that piece for a long time. It is just one of the great pieces.
It is a classic.
David Kelly used to do it fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I did it before for you. You might have remembered more. I think I did it in Blarney one night.
Yeah, I think you did. But I've heard it many times, of course, and many people have given it.
But 'tis a lovely story. 'Tis a cheery story, you know.
It is.
It's amazing how they can take a lovely song like that and scandalise it like that.
Totally. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I was very fond of that phrase, and I must use it actually someday. You slurry head.
Yes.
I think that's a really good one.
Yeah, there were a couple of really good.
Well, Christmas morning, Paul, I do that. And some of my son's parents-in-law and their three daughters, one of the daughters is my daughter-in-law, they come along here Christmas morning, and some of my neighbours come in as well. And I do that, and when I decide to do that, it means everybody is after having too much to drink and they're starting to wobble. But you should hear the laughter that to be in Waterloo when we do that, and I do it to the people in the room with me, and they'd be falling around the place. And the slurry head is very appropriate because my son's in-laws are farmers, so they know what slurry is.
Okay, we'll bring this segment to a close, and thankfully not before time. We'll see you again tomorrow when Paul will be waxing lyrical over the festive season. We'll see you then.
And we have to be conscious now that Paul needs to be gone by 4:20.
Now, Ted, you should never, ever talk like that until such time as we have had a pause, because now I've got to edit that out. Now, Ted,
sorry. 4:00. I gave you a nice little edit in the middle there. I gave a nice long pause. I lost my way.
You did. That was okay. We'll see you then.
And we have to be conscious now.
No, you talked over me, Ted.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll see you then. That was all. Okay. Right, talk amongst yourselves for a second or two whilst I...
Yeah, what I would hope, Paul, is I
slot it
hope the Toastmasters who will have listened to this, and I'm speaking about the Toastmasters who tune in from all over the world, I hope they get a good laugh out of that, you know.
Yeah, I was wondering while you were doing it, Ted, how far it had traveled.
Yes.
Meaning that, I don't know if it's known in Canada, United States,
it'd be interesting.
Hong Kong, Sydney.
We should have asked people to tell us.
But is that not song a universal one?
It's not the song. It's because the song would
Songs be pretty universal.
A lot better known. But
yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's allied to the song, you know.
Yes, but the story itself has been around for a few years now, hasn't it?
Oh, it has.
And did it travel beyond these shores, beyond the
Well, I don't. When I was living in the UK for 30 years, nobody called me a slurry head. So I just think that. Can we move on to the next episode,
Yeah, we're nearly
guys?
ready.
We've
We're
read-
nearly ready. Patience, patience. Some things we could do quicker than others. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Welcome, Toastmasters, to part 3 of the Talk Show for Talkers here on irishtalkers.com. Let me remind you once again about our email address, which of course is info@irishtalkers.com. Our website can be found at irishtalkers.com, and of course we're on Facebook as the Talk Show for Talkers. I'm now delighted to hand you over to Mr. Paul O'Mahony, who is in a somewhat festive mood. Paul?
Fellow Toastmasters, I have a wish for you, or a series of wishes for you, which I hope you will welcome, I suppose, really. This is my wish for you this Christmas. Well, first of all, let's start at the beginning. Thank goodness you are a Toastmaster. 4 particular wishes. May you have the best Christmas possible. The best Christmas possible. May your loved ones and yourself be healthy, safe, and connected. May you experience the gift of generosity. May you keep in touch and recover in the loving company of your community. We all need to recover. For the sake of your local community, thank goodness for your values, how you show your integrity in action, the way you treat others with respect, your service to your family, friends, workmates, and community, and the excellence with which you empower yourself and individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders every day. Thank goodness for your promise to club members and all Toastmasters International. Thank goodness for the way you carry that promise into your community. Thank goodness for the way you enrich your local and international society. You understand that communication skills and servant leadership make a vital difference to the quality of human life. And as you well know, we're not out of the woods yet. We'll be online for the foreseeable future. But you have the phone. You have cards, letters, emails, WhatsApp. We have our online meetings, not only in Cork, but in Dublin, Kerry, Waterford, Limerick, Galway, Belfast, Manchester, London, Glasgow, Chicago, Sydney, all over the world and at all times of the day and night. We have each other. Together we shall overcome. With love, from Paul. And I hope that Moira and Ted would like to associate themselves with the same message.
I think we can associate ourselves 100% with that message.
I'd be delighted to be associated with those lovely words.
It is an interesting time of the year, I find, Christmas. It's not celebrated the world over as a religious festival. It, of course, stems originally from a pagan festival, which the Christians very cleverly assimilated. And, of course, other faiths don't necessarily subscribe. So we might call it just the holiday season, the festive season, the season of goodwill. I can't think of any other terms at the moment. But whatever it is, and wherever you are in the world, whatever your faith, your religion, your outlook on life, I hope that you are happy with your family, as many as you are able to see in these slightly difficult times. And that not only do you have a great time yourself, but you also have time to think of others who are maybe not so fortunate as yourself, and maybe bring some light and some happiness into someone else's life, if you can.
And I would like to say that I think they were very eloquent words by both Moira and Paul. And I'm not going to try to add to that lovely prose that both of them have given us today. What I will say is I second every single one of them. And even though it's nicely pointed out by you, Moira, about different religions that we may not all be celebrating in the same way, we certainly can celebrate the fact that we're all Toastmasters, and we can certainly celebrate with all Toastmasters all over the world. And those lovely sentiments by both Joe and Paul there. And I think once you can take people like that to your own heart, that's what means a lot.
I agree totally, Ted. And on that note, we'll bring this slightly shortened episode to a close, and we'll see you again tomorrow, when I'm going to be looking at the past year, and we'll have a quick run through of what we've covered for your benefit. We'll see you tomorrow.
Well done, Paul. I spoken like a leader that you are. Well done. That was. I can see you taking on the mantle of district director someday.
Well, I'm very glad you both liked this. Really, that means a lot to me. You know.
Yeah, lovely word.
It was. I'm glad we are doing this episode, because the words from Moira and the words from you too, Ted, they're the. I think people will find them welcome.
Yeah.
You know.
It was only 6 minutes, believe it or not.
But I think you did the right thing, Moira,
fine.
to
It's
stop.
fine. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I
Sometimes
agree.
you can go too far with it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think your timing was perfect, I thought.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what they say about the 7 seconds? 7 seconds to lateness.
No, what about the 7 seconds?
Hmm?
Tell me about the 7 seconds.
Isn't there a song there about the 7 seconds? Is it the 7 seconds that you're born? That particular moment when you are born, the 7 seconds, it takes more than 7 seconds, but the very minute you're born, when you kind of get to take your first breath, it's all within the first 7 seconds.
Oh, I see. The after you're born. I was thinking every woman in the world would love for the birth
I was
to be
just
over
thinking
in
that,
7
yeah.
seconds. That would be.
I know. I'd say every man in the world would share with that as well.
Yeah. Okay, Paul, you going to bring us in?
I am, Moira, yeah. And this is a retrospective, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just going to look back at what I've covered.
Yeah.
Which is, gosh, it's going to be quite difficult.
This will take about an hour, Moira.
Well, it could do, because there's 44 episodes, believe it or not, this year. This calendar
You've done 44, have you?
Yeah.
Well,
and it's not surprising. It's not surprising that we're running out of material.
No, you're not. You see.
Oh, I am.
Oh, look, I was.
No way.
I tell you what. Don't worry. If you want a list of 200 more episodes for next year, Ted and I will find them.
Definitely,
absolutely. You know, you haven't actually done an episode on how to use your eyebrows during a speech online, and in fact, raising an eyebrow is a very important piece, especially if you're doing comedy. And we've all seen people on television lift their eyebrow, and you'd see the Queen doing it in in the crown. So Moira, there's plenty of more things to be dealt with. And I don't think you've covered whistling and the benefits of whistling during a speech.
On these rather foolish notes, let's get back to
ridiculous
because
things,
you're departing in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome, listeners. Welcome to the Talk Show for Talkers. And today I want to remind you that we have a wonderful, wonderful website, which is full of more stuff than I could mention in the next 10 minutes. So I'm going to not mention any of it. It's irishtalkers.com, and that's where to go for a whole repertoire, a whole back catalogue. And you know what? Today we've asked Moira O'Brien if she would pick out a few of the 44 episodes that she has made on this podcast during the last year. Moira O'Brien, you have got a short time to cover your 44 episodes. I wish you well.
Thank you, Paul. It's going to be a challenge, a table topic challenge, I might consider it. Okay, what do we do? I want to look at what we've really covered, what I've covered during the past 12 months. And I can tell you, folks, this is going to be a really difficult job because 44 episodes has covered a heck of a lot of ground. Now, looking at it overall, generally, what I tend to concentrate is on speech making. But of course, speech making consists of so many different aspects. It's not only the words that you use, it's not only how you're going to use those words, it's not even just how to hook your audience in seconds, or even stage time, or just general tips for effective public speaking. Those were the first 3 episodes of this 12 months just past. We've covered online clubs, we've covered mentoring, we've covered controlling your nerves, what you do 5 minutes before going on stage, ideas for your speech. Now there's a good one because so often people come up to me and say, I can't think of anything to give for my next speech. And my answer to them is, well, what did you do yesterday? Oh, well, I did such and such. Well, make a speech out of that. You'll have to go back and listen to the episode to get some decent, really good ideas, because that was a pretty naff one. But you see the idea. Online meetings have been a subject, obviously, because in March we went into online only. And in fact, on the 16th of March, we had a discussion on online meetings. And we had a number of things coming up. We talked about what we need for a hybrid meeting, how to boost your online charisma. We did that in May. We had, in the 20th of June, we looked again at hybrid clubs in more detail. We've looked at ways in which you can enhance your screen presence, that's a really important thing. We looked at that in September. And a number of other episodes touched on online meetings. Online meetings, of course, are going to be with us for, well, probably till the summer. And who knows, maybe even further. I hope that many clubs, having learnt the advantages of having an online presence at meetings, are going to go the hybrid route. I would be very sad to see the opportunity for all these overseas visitors that we've had to our meetings here in Ireland and in the UK not being able to be continued. And I would hate the fact that I couldn't go and travel around the world to various clubs all over the world, as I have done. So let's see what else we did. Using props. That's always a useful one, isn't it? We looked at persuasion, ethos, logos, and pathos, what they are, the difference between them, and how we use them to persuade. We looked at contests. We looked at how to win your evaluation contest. We looked at how we're going to hold contests online. We also looked at the importance of sound and sounds, not just in online meetings, but in general terms as well. Presenting from your home office. That was another one which relates, of course, obviously to online. Body language online, another very important and quite difficult one for people to understand. The difference between body language when you can be seen, the whole of your body can be seen on a stage, to body language when you're dealing with this limited area on the screen. Vocal variety. How to ruin a speech. More ways to ruin a speech. There are so many ways to ruin your speech. We looked at those in July. We went back to rhetorical devices in August. And I still have some more rhetorical devices which I didn't cover in those 2 episodes. And I will hope to be bringing you some of those in a future episode in 2021, which is coming up shortly. A very interesting one was confidence from a psychologist's point of view. I enjoyed that episode, and I actually learnt quite a bit from it myself. We talked in October about how to learn your speech. We talked about top tips for terrific table topics. I said that very slowly because you can get quite tongue-twisted over that. Top tips for terrific table topics. It was, of course, deliberately chosen as a, what is it, Paul? Come on, give me the word. Alliteration. It's alliterative. Now, something very important I did in October, I think is very important, and I strongly recommend anybody who is not a very experienced Toastmaster to go back and listen to these 2 episodes, and that was going back to basics. What we learn at the beginning of our Toastmasters journey as to how to construct, to say, to give, to present a speech. And I think it could be considered as the Toastmasters Public Speaking 101. We talked about advanced clubs a bit. We talked about impromptu speaking. We talked about the importance of language recently. And the last episode was a Toastmaster's promise. Now, in general terms, what I try to do is to concentrate on speech making, because that's 50% of what we do during our Toastmasters journey, if I can call it that. But of course, Toastmasters is a lot more than just getting up and giving a speech. It's also about having confidence, developing your personality, how you can display your personality, how you can be charismatic. And that applies whether you're online or in person. So I hope in future that I will be able to continue talking about speech making, speechifying, let's call it. But we'll bring in as many other subjects as we can. And I do encourage all of our listeners, if you've stuck with us through the year, or even if you're fairly new to us, do get in touch and give us some ideas of what you would like us to cover, because we have 3 very experienced Toastmasters here. We have, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 years of experience between us. And we have a lot that we can give to you for your benefit. I'm now going to throw it open to Paul and Ted, because I'd like them to look back a little bit on what they have covered during this year. Over to you, folks. Paul, you're muted, as always.
What a stunning table topics. to ask somebody, look back over your year and do a little resume in 3 minutes of what you've spoken about. I have to say, for me, the highlight during the year was practicing in Blarney Club, something I didn't do on the show. And I practiced in Blarney Club praising Moira O'Brien for everything, particularly the example that she's given over many years. And that was the highlight of my Toastmasters year for me. For the rest of the time, I was by and large, a grumpy man who kept trying to say things could be better. I don't think there has been an episode during the last year where I haven't suggested to the listeners that things could be improved, that the way in which Sergeant at Arms welcomed people at meetings, that it would be a good thing if there were clear responsibilities among members of club committees so that visitors would be welcomed in a very professional way. Ted, haven't I been quite at the very best, you would say, dedicated to continuous improvement, but that would be self-flattery. But I reckon I've been tough to listen to and a very hard taskmaster. How do you see me, Ted?
I'd agree with you 100%, Paul, as I always do. You definitely are a very hard taskmaster. You set very high standards for yourself. But if I can be allowed just to reflect briefly on some of the stuff that I was doing on the show, I'm in the privileged position that I always get the beautiful interviews. And the people that I interview, the spectacular people that I get to speak to, it doesn't even feel like an interview. It's more like a casual conversation with friends, because some of the people that I get to speak to, I may never have actually met them in person, but it's such a privilege to be able to converse with people and ask them what their toast. Around the world. And this is something that would not have happened had it not been for this pandemic. So I think in every cloud there is a silver lining, even though hard and all as it is to try and cope with the pressures that are being put on us now from the pandemic point of view. But there are also opportunities out there. And the wonderful people that I got to speak to, I would like to say, no, I would like to wish you all a very happy Christmas and a very happy festive time. And I really appreciated being able to sit with you, speak with you, and laugh with you, and really appreciate your dedication to this organization we call Toastmasters.
Thank you, Ted. That was wonderful.
Well, I don't want to trump that. I think that's been beautiful. One little thing, actually, I have to say, Ted, that, and I said to you, Moira, as well, I've often thought that these conversations, because they're more like conversations than interviews that Ted has with wonderful people, if they were transcribed, they'd make a fabulous book.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, chaps, folks,
You're
ladies,
muted, Moira.
gentlemen. So I did that to myself, didn't I?
You did.
I did indeed. Well, folks, that's it for 2020. 2020, the year which most people want to forget. We're going to take a break for the next 2 weeks. We might be bringing you some odd bits and pieces of replay. But if we don't, we'll see you again in January 2021. So have a wonderful time over the holiday period. And Paul wants to add something.
Just a small suggestion, because I really do admire the conversations that Ted has. Perhaps we could put up a clutch of the conversations.
Okay. We could do that. Yeah, I think that's a very good idea. Well done.
I would enjoy that myself, Paul. That sounds very good, yeah. And thanks for the tip about the book.
Okay, folks, have a wonderful time. Happy holidays and a happy new year. And we'll see you in the new year. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Well
okay,
done,
guys,
man.
I love you and leave you. I will talk to you both before
Paul
Christmas.
O'Mahony.
Yeah, please, God,
Give you
Good man,
3
Paul,
minutes.
well done. Good timing.
3 minutes to go. That's one of one of our record recordings, I think. Don't you?
It was good, yeah. It just goes to show you. It just goes to show you if you put, I won't say a target, but if you kind of put a limit on it, we can get there, all right?
Yeah.
And that was a nice show. No, I enjoyed that. It was slightly off the beaten track, but it was appropriate.
Good. Yeah, that's good.
Moira, thanks for the car too, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
The cat's pajamas.
Yeah.
Did you get mine?
Not yet. I am distinctly bereft of cards. I have had precisely one posted card and one from a neighbour.
I sent a card to you, Moira, on Monday.
Yeah? Oh, well,
not that far away, like.
Won't get that till next Monday.
Why does it take a week to get from Cork out to Macroom?
It has to go via Timbuktu, doesn't it?
Does it, Churches? That's surprising. No, I'm surprised at that.
Well, let's say goodbye to YouTube, and we'll see you again next week, YouTube. Bye for now.
Bye.
No, we won't see you next week. We'll see you in 2021.